and the meditation of each and every one of our hearts here today will please God, who is our rock and our Redeemer. For those of you who have joined with me in reading through the Bible chronologically this year, we reached a major milestone this past week. What was it? New Testament, right? We went from the Old Testament into the New Testament. And this is a big deal, right? Because this is probably the biggest milestone throughout the Bible. But also, the Old Testament constitutes 2/3 of the volume, and the New Testament is 1/3. So you're really 2/3 of the way done. Another major thing that has happened is we finished through all the prophets, all Leviticus and the laws and those sorts of things, all the guidelines regarding skin diseases and pus and all that very fun and delicious text, and we've moved into the New Testament, which is, by almost everybody's admission, far easier to understand. We've begun the Gospels, which is the story of Jesus Christ, and we will continue into Acts and into the epistles. So, that's all to say, the hardest part is done. All right? Congratulations. I was asked a question, though, and it was a very simple question, but I don't know that the person asking it really understood the profound implications of the question. The question was this: what's the difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament? A very simple question with profound implications. So, yesterday, I decided to be a little Raylene-esque and with far less skill to do a little visual aid here. And I hope that this visual aid will help to clarify the difference between the Old Testament, the New Testament, and how it all ties together. Genesis. Can you see this in the back? I tried to make this big. I know it's going to be hard. I would like you to take out your Bibles as well and open to the table of contents, because this is going to really help you. If you can see it in front of you, it's going to help you to really tie these ends together. So go ahead and take a minute and find your table of contents. They should all be the same. No matter what version of the Bible you have, they should all be the same. We hope. If you do have a Catholic Bible, they will include the Apocrypha, which, if you have questions about that, we can talk about that later. I'm not going to talk too much about that, but that's in between the Old and New Testament. That's probably enough to say about that. So everybody have it? Table of contents. First book is Genesis, right? Genesis means a creation, right? In Hebrew, it is Bereshit, which means in the beginning, which happens to be the first words of the Bible. Genesis. Genesis. And some of the most important things in the entire Bible take place in Genesis. Name a few. What happens in Genesis? Creation. What else? Sin. Am I off?
It's swinging.
It's swinging.
My mouthpiece is swinging. Okay. I will see what I can do about that. All right. You'll have to do another swinging motion. That was quite a unique motion. I've never seen your microphone is swinging motion. I've seen your microphone is off. You need to use the other mic. We can't hear you. But I've never seen your microphone is swinging. I'll have to add that one to mine. What else happens in Genesis? Noah and the flood. Good job, Noah. How did you know that? Yes. What else? He built a boat. Good. What else happens in Genesis? Joseph, right? The whole story of Joseph, right? Anything else? After creation, before Noah? Adam and Eve, they're in the garden, right? Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, right? Genesis is filled with important people and important events. In fact, when you talk about creation, if you look at this as a timeline going from left to right, the beginning of the Bible starts here. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and void, right? This all beginning. Adam and Eve would be right about here. right? It is very important to the story of the Bible, the events of Adam and Eve's life. Because Adam and Eve begin in paradise. Everything is perfect, except there's a snake lying about. And they are in God's presence. They are able to have fellowship with Him, to talk with Him, to enjoy Him, to garden without weeding. Okay? That just gives you an idea. They can garden without weeding. Their grocery store is the trees. They eat when they're hungry. They have an ageless existence. Their body doesn't deteriorate. Perfection. This is heaven on earth until the fall, when the serpent tricks them. And the rest of the Bible is God's response, God's solution to that fall. Okay? Genesis, very important. We're not going to spend that much time on every book of the Bible, but Genesis was important to lay the foundation. I need a volunteer to help me. Will you come up, Carmen? Thank you. Okay, I just need you to hold that, just like that. And I need another volunteer. Let's get Steve. Oh boy, thanks for volunteering, Steve. Come on up. Why don't you be our anchor here, Steve? And we're going to unfold this. Right now, which I'm kind of hide this one. Because what happens next is Exodus. Now, Exodus is with Moses, right? Moses actually wrote Genesis. They told the stories of creation down through the years, down through the generations. And Exodus comes, Moses is born. This is the story of Moses' life and the Exodus of the people. What is next in the Bible, in the table of contents? What comes after Exodus? And then? Yes. And? Okay, good. Now you guys need to step forward. Step forward right up to the edge here so that can dangle over there. Good. You got that? So you see here, hold on to this part right there. Hold that. There you go. So we've got Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. This is the order, right? This is all about Moses leading the people out of Egypt and into the Promised Land, right up to the border of the Promised Land, right? Because Moses doesn't get to go into the Promised Land because he made some big mistakes. So who does? And what's the next book of the Bible? All right? So you see how the events are starting to flow together. What's next in the table of contents? Judges. Good. Good. And in Judges, what we have is all sorts of chaos. All right? What's happening in Judges is God is allowing this turbulence, this turmoil, this chaos to create uneasiness, unrest in His people. And it's going to, chaos precedes a drastic change in the way things are. Right? People get uncomfortable, they make changes. If somebody is sitting in their lazy boy with their Coke and their potato chips, and the game is on, they're not about to move. Right? But after about 3 or 4 Cokes and half a bag of chips, the body starts to say something. There's an element of discomfort that the person says, this needs to be rectified. Now it can wait until a commercial break, but we're going to do something about this uneasiness that's in my body. You sit, you get uncomfortable, things change. And that's what's happening here in the Judges, right? The judges are getting uncomfortable. They're fighting with the people around them. They're being oppressed. There's battles, there's killing, there's all sorts of bloodshed. You know, there's just, I mean, it's crazy, weird stories. I mean, guys plunging swords into other guys and the fat coming out over it. And women leading battles and driving tent pegs through men's head. Like crazy stuff, right? It's unsettling. It's turbulent. But it's creating an environment of dis-ease where the people are uncomfortable and they want something to change. Right? Notice the arrows though. In Genesis, the fall points to a solution. In Exodus, they're looking for the solution. In Joshua, they want to find that solution to the fall. They want to get back to Eden. And God has promised them all the way in Genesis that He's going to do this. This area of discomfort is going to bring them one step closer to that solution. I need somebody else. Wait. Come on up. Thanks for volunteering. You had no idea that scratching your ear was going to be a way to volunteer. A little bit caught my eye. All right, Carly, you're going to stay next to Steve, and you're going to hand off that next block to Blaine. There you go. All right? So, the discomfort brings about a story of a woman named Ruth. Now, Ruth is the beginning of the solution for this discomfort. Because Ruth is the great-grandmother of who? David. King David. Right? So, the solution to all that discomfort is that people are going to ask for a king. They want a king. In Judges, they don't have a ruler. They just follow God. And they think that's not good enough. Because look at all this turbulence that we have. So we want a king. We think a king will solve our problems. So Ruth comes along, and she has a son who has a son who has a son who has a son named David. Now, you would think at this point that the prophet Samuel, after whom this book is named in the next one, because he's the one who chose the king, he's the last of the judges, and he chooses the king, you would think at this point he would go to David, right? But he doesn't. He actually chooses a bad king. Not intentionally, but it really shows how men can mess up God's plan. He chooses a guy based on his appearance. He's a tall guy. He's a handsome guy. He's a strong guy. And he'd be the perfect king, right? Not this short little David guy. But, so, 1 Samuel is largely about that. And what comes after 1 Samuel? 2 Samuel. Okay? So we've got 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel. 1 Samuel is mostly about Saul. Saul dies at the end of 1 Samuel. And in 2 Samuel, David takes over as king. Okay? Let's get another woman up here. All right, come on. We're going to start picking some people from the back, so get ready. Get a duck or head off to the bathroom if you want to really not okay? All right, here we go. Let's open this up. So what comes after 2 Samuel? 1 Kings. And that is named... Let's get this separated. I got some tape in here. There's some problems. There we go. That's right. You need to hold on to this right here. You got that? And you've got the... Don't tear it. Okay, keep that sideways. There you go. Good. Perfect. All right. Okay, so after 2 Samuel, we have 1 Kings. 1 Kings begins with David's son. David dies. You got that? Okay. Keep that on. All right. David dies. Solomon picks up. And again, look. Where's the arrow pointing? We want a solution. God has promised a solution. Where's that solution? When's that solution going to come? We're still looking. All right? We were following God. We had some turbulence. We have a king. The king is a foreshadow of the solution. Abraham is a foreshadow of the solution. God has chosen and established a family. God has chosen and established, anointed a king. Right? So God is foreshadowing how He's going to solve these problems. Solomon takes over. Solomon dies. As soon as Solomon dies, the kingdom is divided, right? We thought a king would solve it. A king would unite the nation. We wouldn't be bickering amongst ourselves. We wouldn't be fighting amongst ourselves and with our neighbors. A king would unite us. And we'd be able to defend ourselves against our enemies. But it doesn't happen. And in fact, it unites them against themselves. It creates a divided kingdom halfway through 1 Kings, where the Israelites and the Jews fight amongst themselves in bloody battle. And of course, in 1 Kings is the book that we're on now. The next book is 2 Kings. Good. And you can turn that just so they can see that. Good. 2 Kings continues with the divided kingdom, and half the kingdom gets obliterated, destroyed, off the face of the planet, gone forever. God's judgment upon them. They rebelled against his chosen king, David's line, and they are erased.